In the last two videos, we saw how to create microservices with Node.js and Wildfly Swarm and attach them to a Jenkins pipeline, continuous integration, continuous delivery. And we did that all with Fabric8 tooling running on top of a Kubernetes distribution. In this case, we're using OpenShift. We deployed the front end, and we saw that we can add messages to the guest book backend microservice, but that we still get an error when we try to submit, because as part of sending to the guest book microservice, we're also trying to send to a different microservice, a Hello World microservice that should respond back with some details about our username. We see that we can write correctly, but here trying to hit /API/hello/CE posta, we get an internal error because that service does not exist. So let's come over here and create that service. We're going to create that using Spring Boot. Again, we'll click Create App and come to the Spring Boot project wizard. We'll call this Hello Service and say Next. We'll pick version 1.3 and pick Web. You'll notice that the dependency picker, just like the Wildfly Swarm generator, and is very similar to the start.spring.io picker. So it's basically the same way bootstrapping a Spring Boot project. We'll just add Web and Actuator to get started. And again, just like the other projects, we will be able to pick from a curated set of CI/CD pipelines that are implemented with the Jenkins pipeline Groovy DSL. Once that comes up, we'll pick our pipeline, get our project going, and add an implementation to our Spring Boot microservice. Click the same pipeline that we use for Wildfly Swarm, which gives us an approval process. Copy this into the project. Say Next. And this should take us to our dashboard or to our overview page of our project, and let the initial build kick off. We'll come back to our Git repo and find our Hello service and come over here and clone it. Go into it and bring it up in our favorite IDE. So in here we can see that we have a very simple Spring Boot app that was generated for us by Spring Initializer through the wizard, the new project wizard there, and it doesn't really do much. So what we want to do is do our demo. This will add a piece of functionality here. Let's fix some imports. All this is doing is exposing the Hello, API/hello/name microservice that our front end microservice was using. And all this thing does is return a JSON blob with our name in it and a counter. And it says hello to us. That's basically all we really added. We did add some additional dependencies that we fixed the formatting here. And I'll see if we can undo that so we can see exactly what we changed. We added Spring Cloud. This will be useful for another demo. I won't go into that too much, but we did add some Spring Cloud Kubernetes functionality to our app here. So this looks all good to me. So why don't we come over here and run it? Make sure that it runs properly. So we said API, hello, and some name. And if we keep calling it, the count should increment, and it does. So the microservice looks fine. One thing we do want to see over here is the Kubernetes manifest data that gets generated. See, we've created a service here, which is Kubernetes' way of doing service discovery and load balancing, and we have our deployment. The one thing to note is that our name of the service here is the same logical name that we're going to use for service discovery. But if we look at our front end, we're looking for a service at hello world-service. So just like with the Wildfly Swarm example, we're going to take this service file and let the Fabric8 Maven plugin automatically generate that for us, but we just want to change the name. Hello world service. Now that all looks good to me. Add to Git and commit things. This is the hello world service. Commit and push. So this should send things off to our CI/CD, or to Git, and to our CI/CD system. Should trigger that. Oh, something failed here. The first build failed. The hello service. Oh, right, because there was previous iterations of this demo that I did. Let's quickly remove some of the previous versions of it. Hello world service, and delete it. So that when our build number 2 kicks in, we won't have that same failure. So I'll give this a second to kick in, and I'll pop back when it's made some progress. The Canary release has begun, and we can see that it is now downloading the Maven intranet, and this could take a bit, so we'll let it build, and we'll come back once we see that it's made some progress. We've started to make some progress. We just did a rolling upgrade into staging, and we're waiting for our Spring Boot application to come up, and we'll give it a second, and we won't approve it yet. We won't let it go into production until we've checked it. There we go. It is now green, which means if we come over here to our staging environment and check out our services, we have our Hello World service, our guestbook service. So if we come here, try this again, this worked. Now, because we can hit our backend /API/hello/name, so eposta, we do it again, you should see the count here increment. And we do. And things are added correctly. So there you have it, 3-part series. Basically implemented the Kubernetes lab for Java developers, bit.ly/Kubernetes-lab. And we did this all on Kubernetes with CI/CD baked into it. And we used Node.js, we used Wildfly Swarm, and we used Spring Boot. Thanks.